What up, and welcome back to another episode of The Bright Side, where we talk about marriage and family from a realistic point of view, but a bright side point of view. I'm your host, Steph. I don't know what I'm going by these days. But this is my lovely co-host and wife.
And I'm Crystal.
And today we have two very special guests. We have my lovely cousin, Shanita, and the lovely multiple hats, does so much for the show, my good brother, Ricky.
What's going on, man?
How y'all feeling today?
Good.
Oh, man, we beefing because I prefer being behind the cameras, but now you got me being vulnerable on camera.
I had to use my resources.
Yes.
I can't not.
Yeah, all right, we're going to talk about this later.
Yeah, we don't promote violence. But I feel like most of the time we're talking about marriage, we talk about family. But I think the part that kind of goes not always talked about in like that whole journey of getting to like the marriage, the family, is the engagement. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't go as we plan.
Sure don't.
Sometimes you don't make it to the altar.
Right.
Yeah.
And not always, unfortunately. Sometimes this is very much fortunate.
All right.
Amen to that.
right.
Amen to that.
So
Amen.
that's it. Let's get into it. So
All right.
y'all both
Mm-hmm.
were in situations where it was I don't even want to call it a failed engagement, but a called off engagement.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think anybody fails in anything, especially in this field. I think it all happens for a reason.
You sound like Giannis
I
now.
like it.
There's no failures.
There's no failures. So I guess if we go back to the beginning, and I think that what we have to acknowledge to start with is that at some point for both of y'all, the people that you were engaged to, there was good. And at one point you were saying to yourself, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't ignore that and pretend like that didn't happen. Be like, oh, this was just terrible people from the jump. So
Right.
I guess I'm going to kick it to y'all. Like, when y'all first got together and you first, for you, say, what do you say? Will you marry me? Yes. When you first
I
asked the
do.
question,
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
what was the good? Like, what was the origins of the relationship that got y'all to the even point where it's like, you know what? Let's take this next step.
Okay.
What made you say yes?
What's I'm going first.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
I think, yeah, so in the beginning of the relationship, things were going very smoothly. I think we had a lot of goals in common. As far as we both wanted marriage, we both wanted kids, we both liked to travel. I think, at that time, he was financially stable, I was financially stable. So it seemed good. I think he looked good on paper. So, just talking about, we always talked about marriage. That was always the goal. So when he proposed, it was an easy yes. It was, okay, this is what I want. I want marriage. We both talked about this. So yeah, that's why I said yes when he proposed, because everything was going right at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it was lit. Like, I was at a period in my life where, like, had a decent job. I was, like, my first adult job, making money. I think I had an apartment with a roommate. And it was like, all right. And then I go on social media, and I'm seeing everybody booed up. All my friends is getting booed up, engaged. And I'm like, oh, this the season for that. Like, I don't want to be out here by myself. So I went in there with who can I have fun with? Who do I know who got similar common interests and all that stuff? And that's when we got together, and it was just fun from jump. Like, we vacation, we love food, like we had the same interests, and it was just like super fun. And I was like, okay, this is cool, this is fun. And then I realized, like, oh, it's not all fun and games. And that's when it started getting real. So when I proposed, I'm like, this is someone, like, hopefully we can just keep having fun together, kind of ignoring, like, the deeper conversations or the real life experiences. So the good was, like, fun. it was like, oh, I'm happy with this. Like, we're having fun.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of drove me to sustain the relationship the way I did.
And I think I'm not my situation was different. Like I think the fun was missing. I think it was too serious. And it was like we so focused on that goal of marriage and stuff. And it's
Right.
like I think that fun aspect wasn't there.
Yeah. But I say, for y'all, like you said, focusing on marriage and even taking a step, because y'all both come from married parents.
Right.
So I wondered, did that play a part in saying yes at the time, or being like, you know what, let me take that step now rather than I'm going to just kind of like wait it out, or like the people that be together for 15 years and then get married at year like 16 or something like that. It's like, so did having married parents put pressure on that?
I'm going to jump in on this one. 1,000%. And I love my
I
parents.
feel like I knew that was going to be
I'm
the
about to say,
answer.
of course.
I knew you were gonna say yes.
I love my parents, but the pressure was real. I'm the only child. My parents had me later in life, 37, 38. So they're getting older. They want grandkids.
Yeah.
The way I'm seeing people getting married, they're seeing their friends have grandkids and stuff.
Right.
So like my pressure was from my friends. Their pressure was just from like age and just life and wanting that next step. And they put it on me. Like the pressure was crazy, even not just from them, but like the church, being one of the only single young adults in church.
Yeah.
Every time. So who are you dating? Why are you single? why aren't you married yet? You don't want kids? I'm like, listen, can y'all relax? Like,
Right.
So the pressure was real from parents, friends, church, myself. I saw myself as getting 30. I'm like, all right. I had goals before 30.
Right.
Let's check this box.
Right.
Stupid.
Man.
Stupid.
And that's the crazy part, is y'all don't even got normal parents.
Normal.
Y'all, no, marriage ministry,
Oh, yeah.
leader parents,
Heavy in the church.
heavy in the
minister.
church.
pastor parents,
Right.
or parent.
Yeah.
So,
I can say that I don't feel like I was pressured by my parents. I think for most part, like my dad, he minds his business. Now my mom, on the other hand, she's different. But I don't think I was pressured. I think I maybe projected. You know, I took what I thought they would feel. So, like for example, like as a daughter, and like you said, you're the only child. I'm the oldest, so I wanted my dad to feel like I was okay, and that I was leaving his home and leaving from under his wing, and you know, clinging to my husband or my future husband. I wanted him to know, like, okay, she good.
right.
But I can't say that they pressured me to do it. But as a female, it's always pressure, especially as you get older and you over your 30s. It's like, well, same thing. When you having kids,
Right.
Oh, shoot, you even from the gynecologists. Let's be real. Like, you know, we need to start thinking about kids, or we need to start thinking about this because you're over 30. It's like, I think the pressure comes everywhere else, but I can't say it necessarily came from my parents at that time. Now the pressure is on now. Like I feel like the same thing. Like they want grandkids, like he said, but at that time, they was chilling. So, yeah.
I'm shocked. I thought that.
Right.
I thought Uncle Daryl would probably be like, when's it happening?
Yeah, no.
I thought it'd be the other way. I thought your mom would be like,
You don't know your aunt, man. She be in my business.
Do you think you guys were ready at that point in time?
Ooh.
Or what made
Like, I know you
think
said
you
everything
were
looked good on
ready?
paper.
Yeah.
But, like, do you think you guys, were your expectations, like, realistic?
Okay. So speaking of expectations. So I think that the hard conversations were not had until after engagement. So my thing is, just because you know you have the same goals does not mean you're compatible for each other.
Right.
So
Facts.
after we got engaged, that's when the conversation started to have what's your expectation of marriage? What do you want? What does marriage look like for you?
Right.
What's your expectations for me as a wife and things like that? And then when that started to unfold, I realized we were not the people that we wanted. Like, this is not the husband that I wanted. This is not the marriage that I wanted. It didn't look like it, but we weren't on the same page. But now we're engaged. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'd involved your family, my family,
Right.
your friends, my friends. We here now, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I definitely think those conversations need to be had prior to engagement. And a lot of times I tell my friends, I'm like, yeah, had them conversations. I'm like, well, that's too early or that's too soon. No, it's never too early to have those conversations. Like, what's your expectation of marriage? What do you want your marriage to look like?
Right.
But we were engaged at that time.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like, what do you do?
oh,
now?
man. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we had those conversations, but I was fraud.
I'm glad you're being honest. Okay. Yes, transparency. I am here for that.
Yeah, no, I was fraud. I've told her what I
Thought she wanted
thought
to
she
hear.
wanted to hear all the time.
So you don't think you were ready, or
No,
you know
oh
you
my
were
goodness,
ready.
I didn't think I was ready when I proposed. I thought proposing would make me ready. I thought buying the ring, doing a proposal,
Right.
getting a venue, planning for a wedding instead of planning for marriage would get me ready. So it was a lot of faking the funk. Like it was a lot of fake it till you make it, but you can't really do that in marriage. Like I was just acting. So like
Right.
I was avoiding those tough conversations or holding my true feelings in to please her.
Yeah.
But then it just bubbled up.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what and ultimately caused it to end all that.
I'm about to say, but I to some extent, I do say I feel like, I mean, unless that's just how mature you are, I feel like everybody goes into like not really having like the actual answers and not having like those things. 'Cause
Yeah,
even
of
with
course.
us, when it's like you're going through, and even if somebody asks you a question in your mind, it's like, yeah, I could do that. Like,
Right.
not really counting like the cost of like, all right, can I actually do that? Am I
Right.
willing to do everything that doing XYZ entails?
Right.
So I feel like everybody has like that
Right.
that moment of like, man, like, yeah, like I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like not really like having like the true inside of you being like, yeah, I fully believe it. It's like, nah, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna go do it because that's how you do it. I'm gonna talk myself into it.
Right.
Right. Right.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody goes in just like really like,
Right.
yes, I'm ready. I think it's probably easier.
Not 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's easier if you're like older
Yeah.
or like later in life or even been married before type of situation.
Right.
But
Because you've gone through those experiences and you already know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see you're 100% ready for something that you haven't like
Experience,
experienced
right.
yet.
You don't know
Facts.
Like
nothing
you can
about-
think
Right.
all
right.
day, but
And all
are you
marriages
really
is
ready?
different, you know?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
and even my friends now, they're some of the best. Like the universal consensus is, we're still trying to be the best we can.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're never going to reach that. Oh, we made it.
Yeah,
point
no,
in
no, no.
marriage.
Right. Right.
It's always tomorrow. I'm gonna try to be better.
Just try to do better.
Tomorrow, trying to
Right.
be better. There's no finish line with marriage.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, now I'm the perfect husband.
Nah.
Continuous
It's
work.
always continuous work.
Right.
And that's what parenting. You know,
Yeah.
you just have a kid. It's like, well, I guess I'm gonna do the best I can with this little
Right.
nigga.
Facts. Yeah.
Some
Facts.
days you fail.
Facts.
Some
Right.
days, good days and bad days.
I
but
felt a lot of days.
A lot of
days.
Little
Yeah.
Nino.
Right.
But you made a really good point about how it's like you didn't have those conversations until after you were engaged. And I feel like that's probably the scenario for a lot of people. I mean, unless you're like really mature
Right.
and you don't always know what questions to ask because it just doesn't like naturally in
Right.
conversations, comes up those specific topics you need to talk about. But like when you have premarital classes, like when we had ours, I feel like that's where we actually had like some real meaningful conversations that actually
Absolutely.
made us think about stuff.
Absolutely.
But premarital is like after you're
After you're
engaged.
engaged, right.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's almost like there needs to be something
right.
like when you're
Pre-engagement.
thinking about when you're
Pre-engagement.
thinking about
Right.
spending your life with someone, like this is what you do before to
Yeah.
see if that's like
And
the
that's
next
exactly
step.
what happened because we did do
Yeah.
premarital counseling, and it was like,
That's kind of like where
those
that
questions
stuff
are
comes
coming.
up,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely, and it's like we're here, so
Right.
we just try to stick it out and see
Yeah,
what happens.
yeah.
I was actually disappointed in my premarital counseling.
Excuse me.
And I know this is funny because that's where I met y'all.
This
Right.
is where we
I
met.
met y'all. They gave us no,
Put on the
whoa,
record. Put on
real
the
quick,
record. I know I get
real
it.
quick.
I
Their session was lit. Their session was lit. We became friends after their session.
Okay.
But I love y'all. But in
Then
general,
we go out like right after or something like that.
yeah, we was hanging. We was homies right
Immediately.
there. It was instant. It was like, oh yeah, we rocking with them. But no one during the 6-week program, 8-week program, whatever it was, asked me, was I ready to get married? Do I think I'm ready to get married?
Oh, you said no one asked?
No one asked. It was all
Wow,
like,
that's
It was all like, all right, when you get married, make sure you do this, or make sure you do this, or do this.
Yeah.
No one was like, you think you're ready, and why?
Yeah.
It was never like, it was never a check-in. It was
that's really good feedback.
It was preparing. You know, it was like, if this happens, make sure you check this. Keep God first. But it was never like a personal check-in like, yo, are you ready to get married?
Right.
And so
It's
that was my
probably
feed. I was looking for that because I
assumed
wanted to be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Right, you
And I wanted to do that in a safe space. Like, no, I ain't ready.
Do you
Right.
you really think you would have felt comfortable?
I was looking for that.
Wow.
I was looking for that because I couldn't say it to her. Straight up. Every time I thought of it, I was like, I don't think I want to do this because I don't want Vase to hit me in the head. But like, I wanted that safe space to start that conversation. Like, do you guys think you are actually ready?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was never created.
Right.
So then it just kind of like diarrhea in the mouth. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Like, so,
Yeah.
so
Wow, that's heavy.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a moment. I was like, man, and it was. Yeah, that was a disappointing moment.
Yeah. And I think when my pastor, he did premarital counseling with us, he basically was like, my goal is to talk y'all out of marriage. And if I can talk y'all out of marriage,
Then y'all
then
not
y'all
ready.
not ready.
And that's
And I
such
was like,
wow.
Okay.
I'm switching. I'm going to your game.
So it was helpful. Like, we really had, deep conversations. Like,
Wow.
very real.
But do you think that was easier because y'all are family though?
My
So
pastor.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it's easier because like that's your family saying it. And it's like I know I can say this and not be judged versus like
No.
This wasn't your father. This was
No,
No,
not
no.
my
Oh,
dad.
okay.
My dad's not my pastor.
Your dad's a pastor?
You know
He
he a
is the
pastor.
pastor,
He
but
said
not, okay.
it. So
You a PK? I'm sitting next to a PK.
yeah, he arrogant. So yeah. No, because he's still my pastor. I mean, he's my cousin, but he's older, and he's my
Yeah.
pastor, and I still, see him in that pastoral figure.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow.
But I'm interested because for you though, I feel like because of the church structure over there, would you feel comfortable saying that to the people that like are good friends with your parents and like probably people that know you your whole life?
It was awkward. The whole thing was kind of awkward.
Even like even without being ready for marriage, just like talking like with these people about it.
So that's why I think I connected with y'all a lot. Because I didn't know y'all.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
parents, you knew my parents.
Right.
But like, it wasn't like years of like ministry with
Yeah,
them.
we like 30 years.
And they sang
younger
y'all
than
praises like, this is a young couple. I'm like, who? I ain't never seen him. So, but yeah, it was definitely like an added, like, so I don't know if I would have been completely honest.
Yeah.
But I wasn't given the opportunity to really be like, get vulnerable.
Right.
It was preparation. Like, it was like, oh, when I do get married, if they wrote that book, I'll go right to page 3. Like, I remember
Right.
when they said this, and
Yeah.
but like on a personal level, and maybe they didn't want to do it with me. I don't know. But like, I was never given that. I felt like I was never given
Right.
that space to be like, I don't think I'm ready.
No, that's really good feedback. I mean, I'm just taking it as like a mental note, just
Like for the future.
because that's such a great point. It's just, and going back to like when we went now over 10 years ago when we had our premarital classes, like I mean that's not something that we were asked either.
Nah.
But it's like I feel like it's probably assumed like
Right.
you took this step, so
Right.
you think you're ready. So it's
Right.
like why ask? But in your case, that would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
But
So,
I can also see
yeah.
why they wouldn't ask, because
Yeah.
sometimes like it could be looked as like crossing boundaries, like
Yeah.
that also
Somewhat.
in somewhat like
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and I presented myself like everything was good.
Same.
So like, I came in there
Same.
like, yeah, we ready for this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well,
Same.
now I think about it, like they may not ask you that, but the whole purpose of premarital, I mean, it's to help give you kind of like that foundation, but also to spark those conversations to determine whether or not this is right for you.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like that is like kind of like that's
I would say-
noted, but
Right.
there's not like a one-on-one. Of course, you're not going to share that with the group. Like,
Right.
who thinks they're not ready? No one's raising
Right.
their hand. That has to be
Right.
like a one-on-one conversation, and I feel like that would
Absolutely.
be really important. And I'm glad that you shared that.
But I think
Yeah.
the hope is that people would say we're not ready. But I don't think they actually prepare you or encourage you to say I'm not ready. I think they more so encourage you, especially in like a premarital class, especially in church.
Yeah.
I think that they're encouraging you to say, if you see like a problem or something like that, we'd be like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
I think they're geared more towards saying like, how do you fix this and make yourself ready,
I agree with you.
rather than
That's a good point.
I agree.
be like, yo, like let's take a
just-
step back.
yeah.
Even if you go back to like I'm gonna take a step back to dating. It don't even have to be breaking
Right.
up, but it's like
Right.
something that makes you be like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hold off a little bit, or
Yeah.
postpone the wedding, or anything.
Right.
I think, especially in church, I think it's more like
Right. Marriage benefits
Get
the
you-
church.
It does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. does.
let's talk about it.
Right. When I stepped in there, it was definitely excitement that I was in there getting married.
For sure.
It was like the church was ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky's getting married.
Yeah.
Come in this. Hey guys, look, when you get married, you gotta do this and this. Make sure you get.
Right.
It was like, and it was a added pressure. Like they just want to see me get married,
Yeah.
and I get that.
I mean, that's not a bad
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's not. Yeah, so it's a catch 22. It's like, but in my head, I feel like a non-biased person could have helped a little bit more
For sure.
to dig
For
in there,
sure.
because it was like it was people, everyone I knew,
Right.
and it was like, whoo, glad to see you guys here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So not to talk about whether you're married or get married, but that you're getting married.
Right.
Right.
So and that's no shade.
Yeah.
Like, and I did
No
like
shade.
The truth.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say.
Shade.
Yeah, no, it was no shade, because the lessons that was given were amazing
Yeah.
for people who are ready to get married.
Right.
And I
Right.
agree, unbiased is important. And I think for me, like, I had to go to therapy by myself outside of couples therapy outside of marriage counseling. And I went to therapy by myself. And that's where,
That's when you had a
that's when
breakthrough.
yep. And that's when it's like, this is not what I want.
Now, did he know that you were having therapy? Okay. Was he
I-
having therapy too?
I encouraged him, yes, and he did too. I said, I think,
Wow.
I mean, at this point, I feel like we didn't see every therapist in the Philadelphia tri-state area. So, I mean, it was multiple therapists. I said, something's not working.
Right.
So I said, I think we should go separately. And I don't know how it went on his end, but I know on my end, me and my therapist definitely worked through some things. And she like, Shanita, so I think you love him. I don't think you like him. You don't think you like him. I said, oh, you're right. You're right. And it's like, we really dived deep, and it was good because she was unbiased and she didn't know. And I'm a private person, and so like Ricky said, I present like everything is okay.
Right.
So even when we did break up, everybody was shocked because it's like everything's okay. I don't
No
know.
one saw it
I'm
coming.
I wasn't.
So you don't count.
Well,
Y'all never
don't
like
count.
bull.
so
to
you seen
begin
it coming?
with.
I'm not gonna say I didn't say I saw it coming. It's just more so I didn't see it coming. I just wasn't like, if she came and was like, oh nah, it didn't work out, I wasn't gonna be like, oh really? Like it's like, cause it was even like the first time we met dude, like we was at a birthday party.
Oh God.
So again, like blood relative, come like hype comes, give me a hug, kiss on the cheek, all that. And I look over and I see like this nigga like grilling. I'm like, what are you so mad for, nigga? Like it's a birthday party. Like we all, it's 15 people here. She has to know everybody in here. So, and I like that rubbed me the wrong way. And I ain't gonna lie, that day I was gassing a little bit. Well, you need to come here. Yeah, I'm rubbing it in a little bit. But
Right.
I also think like even after, because for me it was like after that, and now it's like, all right, he knows that we're related and stuff like that. It was just like when I would be around there, it's like he's cool, but it's like I think you look for like that spark, or like that's why she's with this nigga. And I never got like that's why she's with him.
Right. Right.
It was just like she love him, so I trust you, and therefore
Right.
I trust your judgment.
Yeah. I
So-
think, and it's crazy because after we broke up, that's what I got a lot of. And I think that was more of, well, why you ain't say nothing? Like it was more of, yeah, I knew he wasn't the one, or I seen it. And I'm like, all right, I was waiting for somebody to
Dang.
say something.
Right.
And I get it. Sometimes you feel like it's not your place. But like Ricky said, like he said he was waiting for somebody to say, are you ready? I was just waiting for somebody to just be like,
Validate
oh.
what
Help
you were
talk
really
you. Yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
but
yeah.
wasn't saying out loud.
Right. Or wasn't portraying.
Right.
But yeah.
So I guess for both of y'all, what was like we y'all, it sounded like y'all realized y'all weren't. This ain't something y'all was trying to do, at least with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before it actually broke. Like what? Not like the thing. Not like the this argument happened, but it's like what really sparked the like. Oh yeah, nah. Like what kind of kicked in your mind like that? Nah, this ain't happening.
Like this the last
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I gotta say something.
Yeah.
Or not even the last day, but it like, cause I think you know it's over before it's over.
Yeah.
But like, what was that moment where you like,
All right. So, wanna go?
Yeah, you got it.
So I'm gonna say it's multiple things. So I think what changed was that after we got engaged, he became more possessive, and I think you can see that. I mean, what you seen in that wherever it was party was in our relationship. Like it was like this is my like.
and I didn't
girl.
think of that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and he would say things like, "You my fiance," and I'm like, "I know." I said yes. You don't, I was there. You don't have to keep saying I'm your fiance.
right.
I was
Yeah.
there. I said yes. I think one thing I said to myself, I said, if this doesn't work, I said, all right, if this doesn't work, I'll just get a divorce. And then I was like, yo, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy. Because I'm like planning a divorce or making
right.
option.
Y'all not even married yet.
And we're not even married yet.
Right.
That's
Right.
crazy to me. And as a Christian, God hates divorce. So for me to even think about that is crazy.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
okay, all right. I got to step back. But the final straw was we went on vacation and we argued half the vacation. It was crazy. And I got on the phone with my sister.
You arguing in paradise?
Bro.
Pina colada couldn't fix it.
Bro. It just wasn't there. And it was stupid. Like we still arguing over just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just stupid. We got mad because I wanted to take a nap when I got off the plane. So I mean, that was when we landed to the resort. I wanted to take a nap. He wanted to go explore, and that was where that's what we argued about. And it just exploded. How can something so simple just explode? And I
Yeah.
got on the phone with my sister. I said, when I come home, I'm gonna end it. It's done. And she like, well, just pretend so he won't do nothing to you while you on vacation. She said, just wait to come, just like
Come back to America.
just come back to
Right.
America. Like
Get
then
to a
we'll
safe
do it there. And that was, and
Where y'all at so I don't go there?
Right.
that was it. That was it. And when I got home, it didn't happen immediately. It was one of them things that I had to think about what I was going to say, when was the right time. And I think God's timing is everything because, he made it easy because he picked the argument and when he would get mad, he would take my ring back. He'd be like, it was another
tripping.
thing. They'd take my
Yeah.
ring back. And so when he took the ring back, I said, bet.
You can keep it this time.
I was like, you can keep it. I was like, and it was shocking for him because that's what we did. It was like, you get mad. All right, give me my ring. Okay, here's the ring, which it loses its value when you keep taking it back. But
Yeah.
I said, okay. And then that one time, I was like, you keep it. It's yours, buddy.
Wow.
It's all yours.
So you
that
gave
was
him the
that.
ring back?
Absolutely. In the state of Pennsylvania, you have to give it back. I looked it up.
In the state of Pennsylvania, you have to give the
You have to
ring
give
back.
your ring back.
That's all I'm gonna say.
You have to give your ring back.
jeez.
I'm just leaving it at that. I'm just saying that's a state law.
Yeah.
I need to print that out.
Oh, you didn't get the ring back?
I ain't gonna look, man. The state of Pennsylvania.
And the state of, me and my sister looked it up, but I didn't want it. I didn't want it. Like that's
Yeah.
another thing. I just didn't want it because I felt like it would have been another thing, just to control me. Like no,
Yeah.
you can have it. It's all
Yeah.
yours. I
Wow.
don't even want it.
Yeah, it wasn't a defining moment, but I knew that. So one, like I was holding all my feelings in,
Yeah.
right, to the church, to my friends, to my best friends, and I'm a happy-go-lucky person, but it was making me like not myself. Like I was getting super anxiety. I was a teacher. I wasn't. The kids were like, "What's wrong, Mr. Brown?"
Yeah.
It was carrying over into like work, ministry, and I'm just like, no, I can just keep faking it. Like
Right.
don't let it out. And I was never in a situation where I had to be like emotionally vulnerable about not being happy. I'm good at expressing feelings of joy and happiness. But I'm not good at. I found out I'm not good at expressing
Yeah.
frustration, upset,
Right.
sadness, fear, all those things. I just keep in.
I can
So,
relate to that.
Fact.
and at that level, like we're getting venues,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not happy, and then that triggered me to just start lying, like just to get a break, like lying about going to a bar by myself. Like, where you going? Oh, I'm just going to go to the to get whatever and just do something totally different just to
Yeah.
get away.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I refuse to be this person
Right.
in a marriage. Like, I'm not starting my marriage off like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's when I was like, I have to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I'm not, and it caught her off guard.
Yeah.
Because I'm fronting to everybody. So it was like, yo, can we talk? I'm not happy. What do you mean? At all. I'm miserable. Like,
It's not funny, but I
Yeah.
could just see you.
it was bad. I didn't know what to do. I was like,
Oh.
I don't want to do this.
Right.
And it was just like, what? So like, but, and I'll probably talk
So
about
she didn't even
that.
see it coming.
Yeah, it was blindsided, and
No.
that's definitely something I
Yeah.
regret. Not giving her the opportunity to like understand what I was going through, to maybe try to work on it.
Right.
It was like I robbed her of the truth of my feelings. Not saying it would have worked out,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
but like it's like, oh, I didn't give her the choice to even try to work it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I just
Right.
waited to the end where I was like fed up. So that's definitely one thing I regret, because like we're two good people. Like I'm sure we would have tried to like address feelings or whatever.
Right.
I don't think it would have worked long term anyway. But just not giving her the choice and being honest.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
I say one of the things that you said was, like you said, the church does benefit from people being married.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder, when you say that you was like faking it, was it all like faking, or was it like talking yourself into like, oh God, and like God wouldn't put more on me than I could bear type, like using like scripture to like kind of out of context to like keep yourself going, or was it genuinely just like, oh, let me just pretend, or was it like, nah, like let me at least just try, like, nah, I'm gonna go do it because and like I said, not using, but using like how people use religion to like make you think that it's okay that you feel like you can say that, but we'll get past it type of thing. Like,
Yeah. It was a combination of all of it. It was like phases of like, all right, I got to do this because the church want me to. And then a lot of it was selfish. It was like, I want to do this to say I did this.
right.
Like, I want to get married. I said I can do it. I can't fail now because then
Right.
people going to see I didn't make it.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it got like personal, like, no, I want to prove. And then people,
It's pride.
yeah, huge pride. Like, oh, people say Ricky will never get married. Watch this.
Right.
And just to be like, yeah, I was right. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a humble pie I had to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just like, so it was a lot of, it was the pressure, but I put like 75% of it on myself.
Okay.
75% like, no, we're gonna prove people wrong.
Right.
Right.
We're gonna act like I'm good.
Right.
You know, I got this. So yeah, it was just like the pressure of people's. I didn't know how much people's perception mattered to me.
That is
Yeah.
fast.
Like it was huge. It was like it was the driving factor of a
Absolutely.
lot of my decisions back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of my
I
fault.
agree with
But
him.
Yeah.
It's just like, the mere fact, it was just like, I'm gonna be embarrassed.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yes.
That I had sent out like invitations.
I didn't get that far.
Invitations were sent.
Yeah.
Venue was booked. Everything was about, and it was like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, what to do. Like, I'm so far in this. Like, I don't know what to do. And then, unlike Ricky, I was very honest about my feelings.
Well, good for you.
Right.
It wasn't blindsided. At some point in that relationship, I constantly said I'm not happy. At some point in that relationship, I told him I was falling out of love with him. And I think, and it was hurtful because I felt like I'm telling you these things, but it's not
It's not registering.
it's not,
Linear
it's
ability.
not, he said, well, that's a you problem. And I
Wow.
don't understand. It's like, you're not hearing me.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
frustrating. It was frustrating because I'm like, I am. And people say, tell them how you feel. I am. I'm telling them how I feel.
Right.
I'm being honest, and it's not being acknowledged. But yeah, it's just that sense of, for me, it was just like, I'm gonna be embarrassed. I don't know what to say. And again, like, I'm gonna be seen as a failure. So when you say that, like, people perception does
Yeah.
play a lot. And again, that's where that pressure comes in as well. Oh my God, I'm over 30. Oh my God, this is other people are getting married. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what it's supposed to be like. I'm supposed to get married, have kids, go to church, be a happy family in the church. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just, yeah. It was that. It was just the mere fact that I was like, yeah, I failed. This is going to be embarrassment. I think that's what kept me in there so long, just to be like, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying.
Right.
It was never going to work, though.
Right.
That's real.
That, it's never going to work.
But that perception is real. I feel like I had a moment like that, and I think I told you, but I remember when I first told like my best friends and my brother. I told Christian, I was like, I'm gonna propose. We at my brother's school. We partying, playing beer pong at the time. And I say it and just like
That's where you tell them.
Because in my mind I'm thinking everybody's just gonna be happy for me. It's like Cam was there, like, so my other cousins was there, so it's like I'm thinking everything is gonna like just be happy. And it was like, I remember my best friend Mark, he just looked at me. He was like, what? He's like, what? And he was like, Chris was fine. He was like, you are not ready. And I remember, we ended up like arguing for a minute. And then I think it's kind of what you were saying, Ricky. In my mind, I'm like, what you mean I'm not ready? Like, you know who I am? Like, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
And I remember, like I said, we argued that night. And next, he had to spend the night in my crib because it was a long night. I remember driving home, and the next day from Chester to South Philly, this nigga played Let's Wait a While by Janet Jackson the entire ride. And I remember
I was going to get this.
Yeah, I was like, I remember being mad.
Get this message.
Yo.
I remember being mad, but I was like, I'll show him. Like,
Right.
Granted, like, I think everything worked out, but I also did, like, years later, I went back to him. I was like, you know what? I probably wasn't ready at that time. And you wasn't wrong. I think you just presented it wrong when you said it. But it really made me think, where it's like, you wasn't saying nothing crazy.
Yeah.
You weren't, like I
Right.
said, you weren't wrong. It's just, I think that how it came across was that, and I know you said you was waiting for people to tell you. I'm like, did nobody?
So,
I told you.
Not even your sister?
so my me and my sister are very much close. So everybody knows that. Unfortunately, she seen a lot of stuff that I didn't want her to see. And if you're watching, I apologize. So she did see a lot of stuff. So if anybody who knew everything that was going on was my sister. Like, it's been times like I had to call her up to intervene in our fights because it got that bad. And she says that, I guess I wanted her to say, she would say, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And she said that was her way of saying, like, "Girl, you sure you want to do this?"
Yeah.
But I was looking for more. I wanted her to come out and say, "Girl, don't do this. Like, stop. Like, just don't do it." But she feel as though that wasn't her place, and that she also had faith in me that I would figure it out on my own.
Right.
So I definitely, although that's what I wanted from her, I can see her point of view, because her thing was like, well, what if I did tell you this wasn't no, and you still continue to move forward? So next, like, now, like, you look at me different, because now you're looking at him about to be my future husband. So I definitely understood it. It was just that I was just waiting for her to say, yeah, don't do this.
Yeah.
But I can get her, her perspective that, she wanted me to figure it out on my own.
Which ultimately you did.
And she did. And she said, she said, "I knew you was gonna come around." And so it took you a long time. I knew you was gonna come around. I knew it. And at some point, I wonder, like, well, were you? What if I got to the altar? And she said, I wouldn't have allowed you to get to the altar.
Oh, well. That's a good sister.
I object. When she say that's
No.
what happened at the wedding.
No.
Does anyone? What did they say? Did they even say that at our wedding? I don't think they said.
Or speak now, forever
Maybe
hold
that's
your
just
peace.
movies.
Forever hold your peace.
Okay.
Yeah, I ain't having that at my wedding. Leave that part out.
Right.
I don't want no beef.
I feel like I don't
I'm be
remember
sweating
that
bullets that
happening,
happen.
but-
Lord Jesus.
Nah,
Oh, my God.
they had it, because I remember when I looked at the
Looking
video,
around, like-
I looked at the crowd like, Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
I
I
don't
don't
need
think
no-
they do that.
You
No.
got,
They do.
They
do?
say.
Yeah, but I don't want
That's
no
not
different
like- I
world
don't
moments.
remember,
I don't want
but-
no one coming down the aisle confessing they love
Please,
to
baby,
somebody.
please.
That's
I
it.
can see that with Ricky. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, nah. I ain't gonna lie. It's one thing I do feel bad about. Because I remember, before you cut it off, I remember you would hit us up and was like, can we all go out to
dates.
lunch?
Yes.
Couple dates.
Yes.
No,
Was
it
that
wasn't
a cry
couple
out for
dates.
help?
Yes.
No, it wasn't a couple dates. She was asking to go out with lunch with us.
Oh, just you
Just to
with
talk.
us,
She-
not even
Yes.
with him.
But
Yep.
she said it just to talk about marriage. And the thing is, at the time, I'm like, all right, like you knew.
He ain't.
See,
He ain't. I should
This
have
is
called
why
you.
exactly.
Yes.
You have to come to
'Cause I
me.
did.
No, because the thing was, I'm like, if we just talking about marriage, I'm like, we could do that whenever. I didn't know.
Right. You
Like,
didn't know what was
in
going
retrospect,
on.
I'm
You
like,
didn't
damn,
know.
I
You
shoulda
didn't know
just-
the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
But I did. I reached out to Steph and I said, "Hey, can I meet with you and Chris? Because you guys are married." And I
Yeah.
said, "Can I meet with you and Crystal to talk about marriage?" Because I'm just like, this can't be it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
fortunate for me, like when I was going through my whole engagement process, one of my best friends, he was getting, I ain't gonna say his name, but you know who he is. He
Yeah,
was getting,
yeah.
he was engaged and getting married at the same time as well. So at some point, I spoke to his wife or his fiance at the time, who's now my sister. But I spoke to her, and I'm like, yo, I think she might have been the first person that I just was like, so how is this going for you? Because
Yeah.
like this, because I'm even say I had cold feet. Like my feet was frozen. It was beyond cold.
I had a frostbite.
Hey, like I was just like, bro, that ain't moving. But I was able to talk to her, and the way she felt or talked about him, I was just like, wow, that's not the way I feel. Like the wedding didn't even matter. Like it was just like she was just like, I can't wait to be his wife, and I'm like, I can very much wait. You know what I'm saying? Like it just wasn't. It was like, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same feelings, and I was just like, oh my God. Let me reach out to Steph and Crystal because I gotta
Wow.
see. Like I just had to see, and of course it's easier because you guys are, we're around the same age, and it's some things you want to limit your parents to. I didn't necessarily want to, talk because they've been married. They still married, been married for a long time. I just didn't want to talk to them. It was like I gotta, But by that time, it didn't happen, and just by that time I had figured it out. I said, all right,
Yeah.
Well, praise God. I'm glad.
Right. That's just
it was
Glad it
good.
worked out.
how do you think you would have reacted, Rick, if somebody would have been like, "Didn't get this ain't for you." Like, how you think you would react
In
if
the
somebody
moment?
would have actually, like if somebody would have did kind of what you wanted and being
Yeah.
like, "Yo, like,
So So if my friends had did it, and I love my friends, but because I care about, I want them to see me as like that bull.
yeah,
I probably would have been like, no, let me prove you wrong. I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like they didn't even come at me that way. But one of my coworkers did.
Wow.
A gentleman who's married, he got married later in life. And he was like, Rick, I can tell the way you talking and still moving. Like, cause I would tell, we coworker talk. Like he'll get the tea, he'll get everything.
yeah,
And like he don't know these people. Like I can tell him everything.
right.
So old head, West Philly. Like I could just talk to him.
Yeah,
And he was like, he came to me one day. He's like, Rick, I can tell by the way you talking about your relationship and the way I see you moving, you ain't ready for this, young blood. And it's like, and that's okay. Like he's like, I see me and you, and like, it's like you not ready for what you about to sign up for, bro.
Yeah.
And that's sad on me. I was like, hell no, like, and I'm like, no, but like, he's like, then I tried to convince him that I was. He was like, that's cool,
Right.
but
I
you
hear
not,
you, but
I hear you, but
Right.
your actions ain't
Yeah.
lining up to what you saying.
Right.
Right.
And he's like, I could tell. Like I've been there. I've been around the block, bro. Like, this ain't. Take your time.
Yeah.
This
Take
ain't
your
what
time.
you want.
Yeah. So that did happen. So coming from people in my circle, it's crazy because now I'm the opposite. I'm like, yo, like I need talk to
Right.
me, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Now and that was one
That's
of the
real.
big sides. Like I see my friendships in a different way now. It's like because I know they gonna love me regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to put on for them.
Yeah.
And that was an eye opener. I kind of knew it,
Right.
but when you're going through it, you still kind of the pride or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But that made it more clear
Yeah.
that like, yo, we got you whether you're ready, you're not ready.
Right.
Like you mess up, you're perfect. Like it don't matter.
Yeah.
But hearing it from him at that time, that was the picture that I needed.
Right. And my friends
Shout
were
out to
mad
the
at me.
co-worker.
Like they were mad because so much was going on. I just wasn't sharing. And I think that's something I would, do different. Like it's okay to like my sister knew everything. And I feel like that was just too much on her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like my friends like, well, we didn't know what was going on. Like, I think moving forward, I can confide in other people and say, hey, of course you don't tell, you speak to your friends, but
for sure.
it's like this is how I'm feeling. Like, what is your thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Because that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Some of your friends, they might have cut him. Got some people on.
Right.
Dang.
I'll tell you who not to confide in: the opposite sex. Don't do that.
Oh.
Would you like to elaborate, brother?
Like, don't spill your tea in relationships to single people of the opposite sex.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
You did that?
I did that too.
You did it too? Right, it happens.
I mean,
I'm about to say, you can't say but duh, because I feel like you might do that, especially somebody you think that is like a safe person to talk to.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm having problems with a woman. Let me go get a woman's perspective.
Yeah, that was my.
I could see that.
But I can see why it might not be all the way appropriate.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's
not.
definitely not appropriate.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
People be having agendas.
Facts.
Nah,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't.
I think it depends on
Yeah.
it's like the context of that friendship.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are y'all like brother sister,
Right.
or is it like this is a single friend that I have and just we haven't dated like yet, but there's that window
Correct.
that like if the timing was right,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Then
sure.
it's definitely not
Just wait in
appropriate
the wind.
because
It
they're going to
wasn't
take
waiting.
advantage of that
Right.
Lesson
and
learned.
try to swoop in.
Lesson learned on that one. For both of us? All right, yeah. Whew. I'm glad I ain't the only one.
Yeah, yeah. Next question.
That's terrible.
Things not to do. You know.
Things
Yeah,
not
nah,
to do.
I
Things
get
not
it.
to do.
But
Lessons
and that's
learned.
the crazy thing is, like, even I don't think it's ironic that I guess both of y'all, like, the real advice came from people that weren't like in your circle, not in your
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
people that's just around,
Right.
and get to have like just that like unbiased like do what you want, because I'm not affected by this at all.
Right.
Correct.
Type of like
Correct.
relationship that'd be like, you know what, let's be honest.
Yeah, so I think it has to, because even like now with being single and just seeing my friends date, and when I see them kind of doing certain things that I did, I'm like guard up, like no, don't do it, don't look at the red flags. This is what I didn't do, but they're not listening, and I have to realize like sometimes you got to back off and just they need their unbiased person as well, just as though I need it. So yeah.
I mean, it's tough though, because
Listen, people, please don't ignore them red flags. That's all I'm gonna say.
And be open
They're-
to a therapist. Like I love that's what
yeah,
you did.
for sure.
Yep.
I think we all could use a little therapy.
A good old black therapist at that.
I know that's right.
Come on, black therapist.
Send me her number when you get on her.
Yeah, it's because she helped. She definitely helped.
I had to get therapist afterwards.
Dang.
Like 2020, 2021 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was therapy. And I had a female black therapist, but I was like, no, this ain't work. I need a man.
Oh.
I can
Why?
see that.
Because it was like, she was like, oh, baby, you're just a nice young man. Why don't you just get it together and just be with a nice young woman?
That doesn't even
I'm
sound like something a
like-
therapist should
That's
not good
say.
therapy.
That
And
doesn't
sound like
sound
good therapy.
professional.
It was like, not verbatim, but it was just like,
Right.
it wasn't a guy's perspective. It
Right,
wasn't
right.
like, bro, get your
And
stuff
when
together.
a therapist rubs you the wrong way,
It's
it
time
shuts
to-
down. It's
So-
time to go. I think
Yeah.
we were seeing the therapist, and I think the first day we went in there, she made a comment. I had a beautiful ring, and she made a comment like, "Oh, if she don't want that ring, then I'll take it or something." And I said, "Oh,
See?
yep, done."
Yeah.
So it was just
Good
like
call.
the whole time I was just like, she would talk, she was like, and she made a comment like, "I don't even think Shanita likes me," and I don't,
Wow.
because it was like
Yeah,
why
nah,
would you
Man,
make
she
a
a,
comment like
she a friend of the
that?
pod, too. You over here talking about?
Yo. Oh, snap.
So it's like, yeah, if they rub you the wrong way, you shut down. Like I can see.
Yeah, that's inappropriate.
It's just
Yeah.
sometimes.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But at least
Dang.
you found your person eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
and therapist.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, not person in
still
like
single.
love.
Yeah.
Person in therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That sounded crazy. I was like,
Right.
who the hell's that person? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was good. Like, it was good to meet Ricky and hear about his that we kind of went through something similar, because it made me feel better. Because like you feel bad,
Embarrassed, bad, all the things.
like it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, although I was not happy, my intentions, I didn't want to hurt him.
Right.
I didn't want to hurt his family, because your families are
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your families are involved. I didn't want to hurt his family. It was like, it was just a hard, I had to say that was definitely one of the hardest decisions I had to make in life. Like, it was just, it was just hard. And so to meet him and just be like, oh, like this happens.
I was like, you too?
Yeah, like this, like, oh my
yeah.
God, like, you know, like it's crazy, because, and from my end, I did get positive feedback. So it was like, although I said, oh my God, I'm being embarrassed, like, I went to my parents and he said, I'm proud of you.
That's good.
You know, and I'm like, yo, he had me in his office almost about to cry, because it was just like, wow, like, he said, I'm proud of you. Like, you know how many people get married? You know how many people go for it and they know they're not ready?
Right.
And you know, so it was crazy, because this whole perspective of me being embarrassed, although it was just, I put it on myself. And in some sense, people like, even with my dad, because I had a conversation with my dad, so I just don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to disappoint you. I want you to feel like I'm okay. I want you to be proud of me. He's like, I'm proud of you. Like, it don't matter who you marry. And here's at the end of the day, like, you gotta be with the bull.
Right.
You like, not me, not your mother. You know. And my mom like, yeah, if you felt like you couldn't live with this, you know. So it's like, I feel like it's what we put on ourselves. It's the pressure we put on ourselves. Because after I ended, I did feel embarrassed, but I got so much support. Like, yeah, okay, you did what you needed to do, and I'm proud of you. And that is like, people go through this and they ignore the red flags, and they. I mean, I wish I would have did it sooner.
I got that support a little later.
Oh,
I got shocked from everybody. What?
Yeah.
What? Call her right now. We'll fix this right now.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, because I was frauding.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like when you're putting a perception that everything's good, and then you rip it off like a Band-Aid.
Right.
Like then everyone feels the rip. And then
That's
the hardest
true.
part
Yeah.
was definitely the families, because but they were merging
Yes, they
and
were.
happy. And happy to be merging.
Oh, dang.
So, and like I love her family, like, and that was the hardest part. Like, I'm like stalking them on Instagram just to see what they're doing and stuff.
I'm done with it.
It's just like, man, oh, she grew so much. Like the nieces, like, so stuff like that. That was one of the hardest parts. But I definitely learned, like, from jump, I went into it with the wrong intention, with the wrong mindset. I was getting married, or not even married. I got into a relationship and intent to get married for happiness, and that was the goal. But really, like, marriage, just like, it's not for happiness, for holiness. You know?
Okay.
But
You better
You
preach.
can be happy though.
Yeah, you definitely should be happy within your marriage.
But you should be happy on your own
Right.
before
Yes.
you get married. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing. Like, people be looking like for a spouse to make them happy. Nobody can be responsible for your own happiness.
No.
You're responsible for your own happiness.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's where I'm at now. It's like, so when that person do come, it's like I've been good. However long I've been single, but I've been good, by myself, and I'm happy that I can now. But I think before then it was like, oh, I can't wait to find somebody. I can't wait to do this. I
Yeah.
can't wait
To
do
kind of
that.
fulfill this. this
Yeah, and it was like I
void.
was
Yeah.
definitely a happy person by myself, but I was looking at marriage for like the benefits. Like, oh, we got 2 incomes. Oh, we get to travel. Oh, we get to take pictures and do things and
I get all this guilt-free sex.
yeah,
Like,
right. Guilt-free sex, right? All that stuff, right? So it's like I was all focused on that.
Right.
So when it got down to the real, like the deep
Yeah.
conversations, the purpose, the struggles, the
Yeah.
insecurities,
Right.
I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Because you're responsible. Like,
Right.
you become responsible, you take on of someone else's feelings.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
So I wonder, do you think that it would have been as difficult if we were not in this age of like social media, where like everything, every like milestone in your life is like on display, and it's like everyone has to chime in into whatever you share. Do you think it would have been easier if, like, I don't know, when did we not have it almost is hard to remember when we didn't have it.
Yeah.
Well, high school.
like,
Probably
I
last time
don't
we
know
did.
because I don't know what I
Yeah.
don't know. This is bad to say. I really don't know what life looks like without social media because
Yeah.
it's so prevalent right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, people's perception weighs a lot on me, as I said earlier,
Mm.
and social media just heightens the
It
people
heightens
that
it.
can
Yeah.
Yeah.
look at your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to please everybody. People who I don't even talk to, I'm trying to please.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
people who
That's-
don't matter,
Yeah.
I care about their opinions on my relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I really had to pray and shake that off.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
real.
still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Nah,
It's
Absolutely.
like
that's real.
That's definitely real. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that because
Yeah.
it's like you talked about like don't ignore the red flags, but a lot of people will just because they've shared so much of their life. And then it's
Right.
kind of like that public failure, not even just
Right.
like with your family and
Absolutely.
friends, but it's
Mhm.
like people
Right.
you don't even really know.
Right.
Facts.
But they're, because people say, oh, couple goals and
relationship
oh,
goals.
yeah, relationship
Yes.
goals. And then it's like, if you drop that bomb,
Right.
You ain't feel
then,
you
right,
ain't
then
feel
it's kind of
pain
like,
Right.
until you go through
Was
your
it all a
Instagram
lie?
and delete pictures. Like you gotta go and delete vacations
Dang.
on the low. Like
Right.
man, that joint had 300 likes. I'm gonna leave this up for a little bit.
Right. Nah, that's
And that's it took a while.
Yeah.
At some
Yeah.
time, I didn't even make an announcement. It was like, well, they'll see it. They'll see if
Yeah.
he.
Yeah, no.
I ain't posting them no more.
people will put two and two together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
put two
And when you
together.
broke up, it's not like a hard drop. Like everyone, I'm not. It's like you have to go on like
going
a
tour.
breakup tour. It's like everywhere you go, it's like, how y'all doing? Well,
Right.
actually,
Well, actually,
every
Yeah.
room, every
Yeah.
new person. I just
Yeah.
saw y'all. Yeah,
Right.
well, I'm
Right.
sick.
Unsee.
it'd be like a subliminal post because I
Yeah.
feel like you had posted something one time and I looked at it like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
what's going on?
Right.
yeah.
I was like,
And
Yeah,
it's what people do. Cause it's what I do. I be like, oh, they must have broke up. Like,
Yeah,
they must
yeah.
It's just
they ain't been
natural.
posted together
Yeah,
in
they
a
ain't
while.
been posted together in a
Something going
while.
on.
Yeah.
People be
Yeah.
so newsy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I feel like it's human nature, and not like at some point, how much are people being newsy, and how much are we feeding into their like newsiness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like like me posting
Are
these
we
pictures.
oversharing?
I'm not
Yeah.
posting these pictures to get 0 likes on that joint, or I'm not like posting it so nobody sees it.
Right.
It's like you kind of like almost like we're
Right.
to some extent we're invested in people's newsiness.
Right.
We want them to
That
be
is
nosy
true.
so that they look and see and be like,
Yeah.
oh damn, you know, like
Yeah.
Crystals really is popping. Stuff, damn, that nigga wear a nice sneaker. Like little stuff like that. Like you be
Right.
wanting people to,
Yeah,
to
we
validate
look-
those
That's
things.
very true.
That's
Yeah.
very much true.
Because that makes you
Very
feel
much
better
true.
about yourself in your
Absolutely.
situation.
Nah, that's
That's the
real.
world we live in today.
Not for sure.
Mm.
And that's
Yeah.
but I think for me, and I guess that's probably like why I wanted to do this episode. Why is like one, the transparency, two, the vulnerability, because like I said, we've been doing marriage ministry stuff for like 10 years. And I know for myself when we be going through things, like I didn't go to them. Like I know as much as they meant well and actually were helping. Like I'm watching you help people, and I know that like what you just said to them, or even I guess kind of going back to how you talking about your coworkers, like I know we don't connect in that way. Just probably age gap and other things, and like you need those things. But for me, I think it's important because I feel like this kind of stuff is stuff that like especially like in church culture and like people just want to kind of like gloss over it as if like
It's like, what do you have to do to make it work so that you can get
like you said,
married?
what do you have to do to make it work? And also,
Mm.
I don't think people like the same way you talk about your passages actually celebrate you doing something that is actually for the betterment. And because even I think most people would be like, I think most people almost look at called off engagement closer to a divorce rather than me being more obedient and staying aligned that keeping me from doing something outside of God's will.
You talking right now, bro.
So
I hyped you up too
He be
much.
preaching.
nah.
He be preaching, y'all. He be preaching.
Nah, but that's
He be preaching.
that's the truth though. Like I feel like it's people look at like, and it's like realizing it's not failure. It's like actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you're doing work, you fail, and then eventually you get it right.
Right. And trusting God.
Facts.
That's what it is. Trusting Him, like, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As hard as it was to do it, and as devastating it was having that conversation, when I got in my car, though that was the most freeing feeling of my life. And I don't want to diminish, all the wrong
Absolutely.
and mistakes I made.
Yeah.
But when I made that decision to be like, all right, I need to
Absolutely.
be honest,
Right.
and God will give me grace
Yep.
and favor through obedience and doing
Right.
the right thing,
Yeah.
I felt like
It's like a
1,000
weight
pounds lighter.
was lifted off your shoulders.
It was,
Yeah.
I mean, some stuff happened after that. But in that moment, I knew it was no regret.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
I feel like that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes so much courage to actually
sure.
do it, because I know that there's a lot of people that have similar stories
Mm-hmm.
that probably did make it down the aisle, and then
Yeah.
maybe a couple of years later they end up divorcing anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and some people don't get divorced. Some people just are miserable, and they're just like in these marriages,
Yeah.
not thriving,
Right.
just going through the
Right.
motions for
Asking
however
God
many
to
years.
fix it when God
Right.
said you never was supposed to be with that person to begin
Right.
with.
Facts, right?
But I'm about to say, and that's,
So kudos to y'all for
yeah.
Thank you.
And
taking
that's-
that step.
I'm about to say that's partially why I was like nervous even asking y'all, because I'm like, this is.
Bro,
I know there's
we
like
were nervous very much doing it.
Bro, I said, what? You want me to come up here and share what? In front of everybody?
But I'm about to say, but it was like like I said, I had to ask. I'm like, I know it's
Right.
needed. I know it's needed
I
because I know
agree.
people don't talk about it,
I
Yeah.
agree.
and I think it's easy just not talk about like the stuff.
Right.
And even like we literally just got back from like a marriage retreat like 2 hours ago, right before we came here.
Wow.
That's why I was late.
Yeah, yeah. But one of the things said in that joint was like being married is not enough. Like being married is like it could be a goal, but it's like if you're just married and not thriving and not like going forward and having like a successful marriage,
God's
in
not
terms of-
pleased
I
with
was
that.
about to say,
Right.
Just
yeah.
existing together.
Right.
Like
That's
no.
not what we created for.
That's not the purpose
Exist
of that.
in marriage
right.
and just like,
Yeah.
yeah, we together,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's all
We've
you
been
can say.
together
We
for
together.
years,
Right.
right? But what have you accomplished?
What are you
together?
doing?
What?
Like,
Not
what's
being
the
fruitful.
Right.
You're not I'm about to say, and in the same way Jesus cursed the fig tree that wasn't producing fruit. So if your marriage not producing fruit, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
What was the point of it all?
Right.
Y'all had a good party 15 years ago.
A
Right.
good party.
Bro.
That costs a lot of money.
Facts.
Oh, what y'all talking on tonight?
Nah.
On tonight. Y'all talking.
Nah. Outside.
That's deep.
So I guess my question would be going into, because I know that both of y'all both have the intention to one day be married.
Absolutely.
I do.
What would y'all do? Like what steps would you like do completely different going into like the next one?
Okay.
Especially having the knowledge you have now.
Right.
Good question.
Good question. For me, definitely asking the right questions. So, and another thing is, I think, because I had this conversation with somebody, and I said, and they dated somebody. I said, well, what is it about this guy? Like, what is it? And then she was like, well, he has his own place, he has his own car, and he's financially stable. And I'm like, what? But then when I turned around, that's the reason why I got engaged. It's the
Right.
same. I'm like, oh, okay, he got a house,
Yeah.
he got a car, he financially stable, and I'm like, why are we praising men for something that I feel like
Bare minimum. Yeah.
it's the bare minimum?
Yeah.
I'm not asking.
I don't know about bare minimum.
Not bare minimum,
He
but
said it.
But I don't know about bare minimum.
I'm not.
What's expected,
Yes,
I guess.
what's expected.
Yeah.
I'm not asking a man something that I don't already bring to the table. And I think so. Looking at it's like me now. I look way deeper than that. Like, okay, you got a house, but what do you look for? Like,
Yeah.
what's your expectation? Like, I ask very specific questions. Like, oh, you expect me to cook it how many times a week? Like it's like
4
those
to 5.
questions. Like,
You know
you
what?
pushing it? So like those questions, and it's like you have to ask them questions and
yeah.
things that and it's crazy because people like they weird questions, but it's like things that were conflict in my
Yeah.
engagement. I just want to see what is your viewpoint, you know, like where do you stand, like stupid stuff, but yeah, just asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 big things for me. One, being honest. Like being honest with your feelings, the good, the bad, the insecurities,
Yeah.
and presenting that to your partner and letting them do with that, hopefully helping you with it or
Yeah.
making a safe space for you to be that way. But not keeping everything in. Can't do.
Yeah.
I think I'm overly honest now. I think I'm a little too honest. Some might even say blunt.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen, that's okay.
but I feel like because of what I've from holding things in for so
Right,
long,
right.
Yeah.
I'm just leading with the honesty.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And part two, my dad gave me some of the best advice. He said, you know, son, when you get married, no, he talks in parables. So
does.
my dad is literally the closest person to Jesus I've ever met. He talks in parables. He said there was a farmer, and then all he had was sheep. And he had black sheep, white sheep, big sheep, small sheep. And then he wanted to get married. He got married to another farmer, and she had sheep too, brown sheep, little sheep, sheep with two heads. And then they got married, and then they looked around and had a whole bunch of sheep. And that's all they had. He said, when you get married, you want to get married to someone who brings something different to the table. If you have sheep, marry someone with horses or cows. So when you do merge, you have more to offer now as a couple. And when he said that, because for me, I want somebody just like me, like someone who can go out, party, outgoing, fun, spontaneous, and so someone I can rock with who's just like me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that doesn't compliment me well.
Yeah.
You know, and I know how to be with me.
Right.
And I know the parts of me I don't like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't need two Rickies.
No, we
Yeah.
don't.
We don't
No, we don't.
we don't need two Rickies. So finding someone not, completely opposite with values and beliefs,
Right.
but
Yeah.
someone who brings something else to the table that complements you and you compliment them well.
That's real.
Good for your dad.
My dad's a good guy.
He sure
I'm about
is.
to say,
Yeah.
Norm
I
is
love them.
Big Norm.
man. That's the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nah, that's real. So, like I said, I definitely. This was good. This was real good.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that y'all, like I said, had the, I guess, the courage or even just the
No, it was courage.
Definitely.
wherewithal to share that story, share testimony. So, in all of that,
Yeah.
and I feel like because life is a journey and you go through all these things, where you sit today, what was the bright side of calling off the engagement?
You go first.
The bright side for me is that I realized what I really struggled with. And that was, people's perception and be attacking or addressing negative emotions that I had to get through. That whole thing was therapy for me, just going through that process. I learned so much more about myself. So now when I go in, I know that I do struggle with this. How do I get better at certain areas?
Right.
It kind of prepared me for the person God has for me. So
Good answer.
That's good.
So I guess the bright side, I will say, learning myself, being happy and being content with myself and in singleness, realizing that it's okay to be by yourself. You don't necessarily have anyone. Also, just I think my relationship with God is strengthened. I realized that I needed him. I
Right.
should have trusted him. Through that whole process, I just didn't trust him. No, I wasn't listening. He was talking to me. He always was. And I was not listening to him. I just was like, all right, I'm just keep going. I'm keep going.
Right.
I'm going to keep going. And afterwards, like Ricky said, I felt free. And I'm like, and God, I feel like God just was looking down, was like, I've been told you to do this. Because when I think about God, I think about him talking to us like how I would talk to you. Like, bro, I've been trying to tell you. So I'm like, okay. So just trusting him. And I think that definitely is where I strengthen that relationship with him. I think that's it.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
We did it.
whoa, man,
Yeah.
this wasn't that bad,
Yeah, nah, I told you it wasn't gonna be bad. Y'all gotta trust me. Y'all gotta trust me. I be telling y'all, but y'all gotta trust me.
Yes. And I hope people get something out of it. I think that's really why I was like, because when you asked me, I said sure, but then I started freaking out, and I'm like, oh my God. And then it's just like, if one person can be like, you know what, I'm feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Let me reevaluate. Let me go to God.
Right.
Because ultimately, as Christians, that's what we want.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to win souls, and
Yes.
so if that turns on the guy, hey, we did our job.
This could be the push that someone needed, just
Yeah.
like how y'all needed someone to kind of just get you
Nudge
there.
you. Yeah.
This could be helping someone else.
No, I didn't even think about that. That's
Thank
real.
you for sharing your
Yes.
story.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for having us
Yes.
in front of the camera.
In front of the camera.
And now you go back
Yeah,
behind
right.
the camera.
Until the next
We're
time.
going to have to,
I was about to say, until the
we're going to
next
have to
time.
bring you back, though.
For sure. But yeah, like I said, thank y'all again. And thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of The Bright Side. You can follow us on Instagram at The Bright Side Show 23 on Instagram. Or you can send any comments or feedback that you might have. Questions or topics you might want to see on the show. And you can email us at thebrightsideshow23@gmail.com. And no matter where you're at, come on and join us on The Bright Side. Because when you shine, everybody else gets to see a little bit better. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.